Fay was near Lake Common, Sandown, on a Tuesday afternoon at about 4 o'clock, with a young boy that was near her age, when they both heard a very weird wailing noise, not unlike an ambulance siren. They followed it through a hedge and into a swampy meadow. As they were crossing a wooden footbridge over a narrow brook, a blue-gloved hand appeared from under the footbridge, and a strange figure emerged. The figure fumbled with the book, dropped it in the water, then splashed about to retrieve it. The two then watched the figure enter a metallic hut, similar to those used on building sites, except that it had no windows. The entity moved along with a strange hopping motion, with knees raised high. Eventually, they were just standing around while this creature was in the hut, and they got bored. Disinterested, they wandered off, and they were over 50 yards away when the figure reappeared, carrying a black-knobbed microphone with a white flex attached to it. The wailing noise immediately returned, this time being so loud that the boy was scared, and he began to run away. The noise ceased and the entity spoke into the microphone, and although so far off, the children could hear its voice as clearly as though it were right next to them. Later retellings from Fay reveal that this microphone seemed to cast the voice directly into their heads like telepathy. "Hello? Are you still there?" the entity asked. And in response to what sounded a friendly tone, they ventured close enough to speak to the oddly attired person. He was nearly 7 feet tall, he had no neck, and his head appeared to be wedged straight onto his shoulders. He wore a yellow pointed hat which interlocked with the red collar of a green tunic. A round black knob was affixed to the top of his hat, and wooden antennae were attached on either side. The face had triangular markings for eyes, a brown square of a nose, and motionless yellow lips that were extended into a grin. Other round markings were on his paper-white cheeks, and a fringe of red hair fell onto his forehead. Wooden slats protruded from his sleeves, and from below, his white trousers. His first communication was in writing. Oh, it's also important to note, he was barefoot, and he had 3 fingers and 3 toes. And if this guy was a hoax, it's really hard to hoax being barefoot with 3 toes. That is an important note. He wrote in a notebook in a large hand, "Hello, and I am All Colors Sam." The boy was hesitant, but Fay read each word as it was pointed to. This was necessary as the words were not laid out in conventional sequence. He had just kind of scribbled different words all over the page, and then he would have to point to them so she could read them correctly. The children ventured closer and discovered that the creature could talk without the aid of a microphone. Though his lips did not move, and his speech was pretty unclear, kind of like a person who doesn't open his mouth properly, because he's not. He asked the children about themselves, so they ventured to ask questions too. They asked about his clothes, which were all ripped, and he told them he only had 1 set, so he could only wear those. Because of his strange white features, they asked if he was really a man. The answer was a chuckled, "No." They also asked if he was a ghost. The vague reply was, "Well, not really, but I am in an odd sort of way." "What are you then?" they continued, but only obtained the answer, "You know." Although, this is all written out, so I don't know how he said "you know." Everyone says "you know," but honestly, I could totally see him just be like, "You know," which has totally different meaning, you know? See? With no further explanation, he also said he had no name. There were others like himself, though, and he drew a rough sketch of one of them. He also confided that he was frightened of people and scared that they might hurt him. Apparently, if he was attacked, he would not fight back. At his invitation, the children crawled through a flap into his hut, which contained 2 levels. The flap later would be explained kind of like a giant, doggy door, basically. The lower level had plenty of headroom and was wallpapered in blue-green and covered with a pattern of dials. It also had an electric heater and simple wooden furniture. The upper level was less spacious, and the floor was metallic. He told the children that he fed upon berries, which he collected in the late afternoon. He didn't say where, but did indicate that he had a camp on the mainland that he could go to. He also said that the water from the river could be drunk once it had been cleaned. Once inside the hut, he removed his hat to reveal round white ears and sparse brown hair before eating a berry. He performed an odd conjuring trick. He placed the berry in his ear, thrust his head forward, and caused the berry to disappear and reappear in one of his odd eyes. Repeating the process, the berry traveled to his mouth. A possible explanation that people who think this dude was an alien or something is they think that he's wearing like a mask or a suit, and this is a way to process the berry to make sure it's not poisonous. The children talked to the strange being for half an hour or more. Then, after saying goodbye, they rushed across the golf links to tell the first man they met that they'd seen a ghost. This guy just laughed at them, but the children were convinced of their experience and that the being was either a ghost or someone dressed up. Keep in mind, these kids are from 60s, 70s. I think it's the 70s, right? This had a lot of retro futurism going on, a lot of talk of aliens. There were tons of TV shows for kids that were about retro futurism, stuff they probably would have watched. And they didn't say he was a robot or an alien, and he looks like a robot, but they think he was actually a ghost. It's just something really interesting that they didn't even consider him to be the things that they should know about living in this time period. They think he was a ghost. Fay told her father of her experience some 3 weeks later on the 2nd of June, 1973. At first, he found the story quite unbelievable, but was amazed at the detailed account and Fay's certainty as to its truth. She was quite upset when he suggested that she'd made it up or invented it. Mr. Y, Fay's father, the guy that gave this article to where we're reading it from, saw the boy but found him not easy to communicate with, though he did get a statement from him verifying that he'd seen it too. Apart from make-believe, other possibilities considered included a shared hallucination and a deliberate hoax by someone. There was such an extraordinary amount of detail, however, which included the further point that the creature had clearly had only 3 fingers on each blue-gloved hand and 3 toes on his bare white feet, which makes hoaxing pretty difficult. And indeed, why go through all that trouble? Mr. Y tells me that although bizarre, certain elements of the story rang true to him, and he also took account of the possibility of some connection with his own previous experiences. Summing up, he says, "I get the impression that Fay was somehow taken into a bubble of alien reality created by this strange personage. He told them he had just made the hut. Also, Fay told me that while they were talking to this ghost, 2 workmen nearby were repairing a post, and they paid no attention to the weird charade, as though they could not see it." Very interesting, right? There's a dude right over there, like multiple people working on something, and this weird robot alien who's making siren noises and talking to kids with a big old metal hut, and the guys don't even acknowledge his existence. They never even look at him. Very weird, very interesting, right? So what was this entity? It fits in so well with so many different categories. Like, it could be an alien, it could be a robot, a fairy, an angel, or was it just a hoax? In this video, we will be covering obscure and new information recently revealed about this very well-known cryptid. Hey guys, I am the Rat Man, and today we're talking about All Colors Sam, the Sandown Clown. I'm so glad to finally be back. It's been like 6 months or more. Oh my gosh, so much has happened. Sorry that I've been gone for so long, right? But I'm back. I'm not even in my house right now. But I told you guys that I would release this video, and so I don't care how I'm getting it done right now, just in the middle of this place, okay? I'm doing it. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers. When we do, I'm gonna go hunt down a creature that I saw in a sewer system one time. It's gonna be insane, and we're actually so close. I haven't posted in forever, and we've gained like almost 100 subscribers, I wanna say, while I was gone. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate that. We've got a Discord server where we got some really cool people. I really like the people in the Discord server, so go ahead, head over there if you'd like to talk to cool people who are into cryptids, right? And then I do just have a disclaimer about this real quick. So it's going to sound like I am reading directly off of the cryptid Wikipedia page. And that's because I added to the cryptid Wikipedia page. I wrote out excerpts of these new stories that have been revealed, and I copy and pasted those excerpts into the wiki page. So I wrote them for this video, but then I put them onto the wiki page to update the information because more people will see that than they'll see this video, and I want that information out there. I don't care if they see it just through me. So if it sounds like I'm literally just quoting the wiki page, that's because I wrote it, okay? So don't go saying, oh my gosh, you're just reading wiki. That's because I wrote it, okay? I wrote it. So this story is actually super interesting. I actually love this cryptid. He has quickly shot up to one of my favorites ever. He's super cool. He's he's just a chill guy. He's just a nice chill guy. So I really like him. And there's actually a lot of interesting stuff going on that we'll get into about. I believe he exists. That's it. That's the truth of it. Like, I believe he exists. I don't know what he is. We can theorize about that after we get through these stories, but I believe he exists. So, let's go ahead and get into, we saw Mr. Y, which is Fay's father. Fay's the kid that saw him. Mr. Y sent this article to the BUFORA Journal. Now, the BUFORA Journal is a British UFO research organization. They're like fairly reputable, you know, pretty good. This is how people know about the Sandown Clown, Sam. I'm just calling him Sam, I'll call her Sam. Is through the BUFORA Journal. And I will have a link in the description. But he had his own UFO and alien experiences that are quite a bit different than the one Fay had with Sam. And it makes for some interesting ideas of what could be going on in the background. So let's go ahead and read the stories that he sent in for this same journal that we find Sam the Sandown Clown in. This one's called Bright Red Cherries. On Tuesday 20th of October 1970, around 7 p.m., Mr. Y was driving from Shanklin to ride via Seaview to see a friend. Passing through the village of Brading, he turned right to St. Helens, and then he became aware of a large multi-lit aircraft to his right about halfway between the road and Bembridge Downs. It looked enormous as it flew low over swampy terrain. He stopped the car and watched. The object hovered apparently aimlessly over the swampy margins of the River Yar. A wide ring of 7 or more lights could be seen, each of them a large and clearly defined sphere, like a bright red cherry, and interspersed with a turquoise and a white light. Our witness drove on and the object flew parallel. Once outside St. Helens, it cut across about 300 yards behind him and dropped slowly, meandering above distant hedges, now appearing smaller with the number of red lights reduced to 4, which seemed to rotate slowly. Mr. Y again stopped, and this time used his torch to signal for some 10 minutes, during which time the object weaved backwards and forwards without settling. He then continued on his appointment. When he reached his destination, the lights were still there, and he left his own rear lights on to face the object. Coming out of the house, his friend could see nothing. Coming out of the house, his friend could see the thing also playing hide and seek between the treetops. As he continued on to ride, the lights were lost to view, and our witness saw them no more. On several subsequent occasions, he noticed single balls of red light in the sky which would hang stationary or follow him along as though checking his movements. But on the 1st of March 1972, a considerably more frightening incident occurred. This one is called Yellow Eyes. It was between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., and Mr. Y was perched on the cliffside at Compton Bay, having been driven there by an unexpected tidal surge, seemingly caused in part at least by some form of droning underwater craft. From his vantage point, he observed 2 points of light, yellow, and peering up at me like the eyes of some horrible sea monster. He guessed the eyes were not much more than 40 feet away and were just below the surface of the sea, like a sort of periscope. They disappeared, and as the tide gradually subsided, Mr. Y was able to get back to his car and drive home. At no time did he tell his young daughter of anything he had experienced, but at the beginning of May 1973, when she was 7 years old, she claimed to have had a very weird encounter indeed, and that is where we get into the All Colors Sam encounter that I read in the intro of the video. She then experiences All Colors Sam. So Mr. Y did have some more alien encounters. Over time, he would run into them more often, and his stories, as they went on, the aliens, they got more and more intrusive. And he had said that he felt they were not friendly. They were observing him for some reason, and the longer that it went on, the more intrusive they got. I'm not going to read the other stories because I don't feel like it's relating that hard to All Colors Sam. It just is interesting that Fay experienced this kind entity who was here, and he actually, as we'll see later, became a sort of protector of Fay, and he had her best interest in mind. Like, he was trying to do good things for her, but her dad was experiencing something on the opposite side with entities that he felt were malicious and that were just weird. They were just weird, you know what I mean? And so it's interesting because it's like we've got the two different dynamics, so it gives us ideas and theories of what could be going on here. I will, since we're not going to go back into more of his accounts, I'll just tell you right now, I'm curious if there were two forces at work here. If there could have been, like, let's just go with the aliens, for example. If they were both aliens, right? Maybe there's one type of alien that is trying to do something to this family, but then there's another type of friendly alien that's like, doesn't like this alien, and so they become the protectors of this family because they don't like this alien. You know what I'm saying? I'm curious if something like that was going on. It's just really interesting, and it's really fun to get into, and I haven't heard people talk about that either. Like, it feels kind of obvious to say, like, oh, maybe there's two different forces at work here and they're fighting each other and this family's just caught in the crossfire of it. Like, I'm very curious about that, but unfortunately we don't get any more information about that. But we do have a lot more information about All Colors Sam. Alright, so without further ado, here is All Colors Sam, more accounts from Fay. Now, the following paragraphs are paraphrased transcripts that I wrote out from Paul A.T. Wilson, he claims to have spoken with the real original Fay, which was the girl who first sighted All Colors Sam. Paul A.T. Wilson is a folklorist who lives on the Island of Wight, I believe it's the Island of Wight, which is where this sighting happened. And he clears up some misinformation, and he gives us these new stories that the original Fay had told him. Now, also, just to clarify, because people will say, hey, how do we know this is the real Fay, right? So, Paul had been approached, or claims to have been approached, by multiple people claiming to have been Fay, right? And in all of those cases, they wanted to go public, they wanted to make money off of it, and they didn't have any evidence. Those three things, right? Because why would she go from being anonymous her entire life to suddenly, I want to come out and make money? That's not consistent with how people act generally, and so it immediately raises a red flag. This one, though, did not want to go public. She wants to stay anonymous, and she's being very strict with what he's allowed to share. And she doesn't want to make any money off of it on top of that, and she had proof. She had a big box full of documents. She had handwritten transcripts of the original papers that were sent to BUFORA. And then she had the book that Sam had, where he had written, "Hello and I am All Colors Sam." She told him that Sam had actually given them the book, and she literally had it. And it just had some other interesting art in there, so that was also some evidence. And the papers were all aged. Like, it was clear they'd been aged, because she didn't contact him until 2020, and it was around 1973 when this was first happening, so about 50 years of paper aging, and it was aged paper. And so for her to fake this and not get any publicity about it and not try to make any money of it, but just for the love of the game, she would have had to go through a lot of effort. And so we do believe that this is the original Fay, with the evidence that she has shown us and how she is acting. So, with that being said, Fay met All Color Sam 5 more times after her initial experience. During one of these meetings, Sam did tell her that they would meet a final 6th time. So here's the second meeting. Fay had gotten a part-time job at a local horse stable in the spring of 1982, 9 years after her initial meeting with All Color Sam. One evening on her walk to the bus stop from work, Sam walked out of the forest and up to Fay, just out of nowhere. She described him as being tall, exactly like she remembered. Same strange clothing, though less tattered, the same paper-white face, and the same painted-on features. And the same grinning yellow smile with a lack of emotion. He was carrying an odd whistle with buttons and dials. Fay was not frightened, just curious. She seemed to have been comfortable with Sam. Sam used this whistle to create patterns and shapes in the air. Fay described these visuals as moving chalk drawings. There was a faint buzz in the air around the drawings, and they shimmered. Sam spoke to Fay with a clearer, less robotic voice than the first time they had met, as though he had been practicing. He said, "I've been keeping my eye out for you. I'm very happy we made friends." Fay wasn't sure how to respond, so Sam continued. "Things are fixed now. I don't have to hide or forage." She asked him to elaborate, but he didn't. She told him that she had to go or she would miss her bus and her family would worry about her. Sam just nodded and said, "I'll see you again. 4 more times if you want. Travel safely," before turning and hopping away into the forest shrubbery. So as we can see, Sam just comes out of nowhere with this really cool flute and starts drawing pictures in the sky, and Fay's just like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," which that's honest. Okay, a lot of people are like, I've heard a lot of people and read a lot of comments from people saying, "Why does she act so nonchalant when Sam comes around?" I don't know what kind of person Fay is, but I'll be so real with you guys. This is how I would act. Like, when I saw the thing in the tunnel that I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was malicious. I don't know. I wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, my whole worldview is shattered." No, because her dad believes in aliens. And I'm sure that he, even if he doesn't talk to her about his own experiences, I'm sure that she has been spoken to about aliens. And she was a kid at the time where she met this alien, which just, when you're a kid, you don't have this super solid worldview, right? It's constantly being built up. And when you meet something unexplainable as a child, that gets added to the worldview that you're building. And so now when she's older, she's, I think, 16 at this time, she's already got that in her mind where she met something. And so she knows these things exist. And this guy was friendly to her. And so when she sees this, she's not going to be freaking out like, "Oh my gosh, my whole worldview's been changed." She believes in them. It's just a dude. It's cool. It would be like if you're walking around and you see, I don't know, Markiplier, right? It's like, "Yo, Markiplier." But you know, it's not like your whole worldview's shattered. It's just like, cool. It's really cool. And that's kind of how she acts the whole time. She acts like he's a friend, and it doesn't change her worldview. But that's why. Because she saw when she was a kid, her dad believes in aliens, and I'm sure she was influenced by her father. And he was friendly to her, so it's not gonna break her brain or anything. So, but a lot of people point that out and say, "Oh, this isn't realistic. This has to be a fake because she's not even freaking out." Dude, that's why. Like, there's the explanation. So, now, the third meeting. A year later, Fay was 17 and meeting with her friends in a local park. This one's cool. I think this one might be my favorite. The group was collected on a few concrete benches, planning to drink and smoke, although it's important they hadn't yet. One of Fay's friends had stolen a half bottle of sherry from their mom's pantry, and they were planning on passing it around. Now, Paul had said that they hadn't drank yet, but they ended up drinking later, but one of the details Fay added in just to add to her credibility was that she was the only one that liked the sherry, everyone else hated it, and he just mentioned, like, that was just part of the story, you know. She was telling it like she had actually been there. It wasn't like this well thought out and planned out written thing. She was just like, "Oh yeah, and then we ended up having the sherry and I was the only one who liked it." You know, if you're making up a story, you don't add I mean, you can add details like that. It's just, he felt that added to her credibility, and I think I would have to agree. Now, they had been hanging out for a little bit when Fay caught the strong scent of earth and burning leaves. Without a sound or warning, she was shifted somewhere else. It was the same park, same benches, and the same trees, but her friends were gone, and the whole place had been blanketed with a reality filter. The shadows were longer, the colors more vibrant, and there was absolute silence. It was like reality had been softened or turned down. Fay was looking around when Sam came walking down a nearby path. He was tall, thin, with the same paper-white face, but this time, he was not alone. There were more of Sams, kind, tall, and strange, all dressed differently. Some wore clothes similar to Sam's, patchwork stitching of unplaceable fabrics. Others shimmered like heat waves. They all chattered in a language just beyond the edge of her comprehension, which is so freaking cool. The chatters joined together in the air, forming a warble sound, like they were all talking in an indoor swimming pool, like that. You know what I'm talking about, when there's a bunch of kids just screaming in an indoor swimming pool, and then it all echoes in the ceiling. It's so cool. She saw these doorways. There were tall, freestanding shapes that gave glimpses into other places. One was green and bright. Another showed what appeared to be stars. Yet another shimmered like a liquid mirror of mercury. Sam approached with gentle, smooth movements, and he spoke. "I'm glad you're here, and you're doing well." Fay didn't know how to respond. Sam led her past the doorways. He showed her impressions, but they slipped from her memory soon after this experience. Some made her feel joy, others coldness, but two of these vividly stuck with her. One showed the Earth from orbit, distant and glowing blue. Another showed Europe, whole, without borders and barbed wire. She didn't know what to ask, but Sam answered anyways. "The world will not end in your lifetime. There will be no nuclear war, and Europe will not be split for long." Which means, guys, we're in the clear. We don't have to worry about nuclear war for a while. A little bit longer, you know what I'm saying? It was 1983, which meant that this meeting was taking place near-ish the end of the Cold War. I think it would last like 10 more years or something like that. 7 more, I don't know. But they were in the Cold War, so understandably, most people lived with like anxiety in the back of their minds over this war. But this meeting seemed to ease Fay's anxiety about it. Sam spoke again. "This is the second time. I told you there would be 4 more if you wish it." She asked why her, but Sam only nodded slowly. Then it was over. She had shifted back into her layer of reality, back with her friends. She asked her friends how long she had been gone, but they only laughed and said that she must have had too much to drink, even though she had not drank yet. So, that one, I really like that one. It's super interesting. Like, more Sams, they all have portals. This is really getting into the idea that Sam is a reality bender, right? He lives on another dimension. He's something transdimensional, whether it be alien, whether it be Fay, angel, I don't know, but he's transdimensional. And it's so cool. I really like this story. I love this dude and these accounts of him. This straight up shot up to being one of my favorites ever. Like, that whole third meeting just gives the feel that these creatures are protectors, right? They're here to comfort and to teach and to protect people throughout multiple dimensions. And I love that so much. And it really makes me like lean into like, nobody said this, but I really wonder if these dudes are angels. And this is how they appear to specifically Fay, to these kids, right? And it's so cool. And let's get into the fourth meeting. Another year later, 1984, Fay was 18. It's winter, cold, and stinging. The main town on the island is called Newport, which is where Fay's boyfriend lived. One day, Fay was traveling through the cold to see her boyfriend. There was a shortcut that she usually took, but she had this inexplicable feeling that she should take the long way this time. As she began the long walk, Sam stepped out from behind a tall fence. He was walking steady like a man this time. This meeting had a different feeling than all of the previous. Sam's appearance kind of startled her. He was tall, still out of place, but he wore normal human clothing, and his paper white complexion was more like normal skin. He appeared more human, and his mannerisms and speech patterns also were just more normal. He spoke. "I don't have much time. I'm using up one of my visits. I know where you are going, to see the boy. You shouldn't. Just turn around, go home. That is all. Please." Then he turned and left. This experience was strange, but Fay trusted Sam, so she did what he had asked, and she went home. Later that night, she learned that her boyfriend and a few other friends attempted to rob an establishment. They were caught, and they were sent to jail. After this experience, she never saw her boyfriend again. Sam kept Fay from falling into the same fate, from going to jail, from robbing the place and doing the things she shouldn't have done. He was a protector of Fay. He didn't want this to also happen to her, and he knew it was gonna happen. He knew what was gonna happen. So, transcends dimensionality and time. So freaking cool. I love this guy. Alright, now let's get into the fifth and the final, so far, meeting. This last encounter took place in 1989, 5 years after her previous meeting. She was 24 and about to move off of the island. She had just been married and was about to start a new life with her husband on the mainland. They were staying at a friend's house before they moved. Now, apparently they also didn't get to have a honeymoon, which is tragic. That is, I feel for that. But they were moving to the mainland because her husband had a job there, like a job where he was supposed to make pretty good money. And so that's why they were moving. Now, while staying at this friend's place, Fay decided one day that she was going to go out and go for a walk, like she often did. She's the kind of person to go on walks. She walked by a fish pond that had been filled in, which is just another one of those just random details. As she was walking, she saw a hut that she had never seen before. It looked similar to an intercity express, long, white, and sleek. The roof was corrugated and slightly bowed. The entire structure seemed out of place, like it had been dropped into the landscape. Sam stood outside of the hut, looking the way he used to, paper white face with odd painted shapes and patchwork clothing. He invited her in for tea, to which she accepted. There was a strange device like a kettle, though it was clearly something different. The cups were made of a material like porcelain, but they were soft and pliable in Fay's hands. They sat, and Sam poured tea. It smelled like herbs that Fay could not place. Maybe I should say herbs, since this was written by British people. It smelled like herbs that Fay couldn't place. The drink was sweet, but certainly was not tea. Side note, if you ever run into a creature that offers you tea, generally it is considered a very bad idea to accept food or drink from non-human entities. So, don't take it, okay? Just don't. But in this case, it was okay. So I don't know, like whatever. They spoke for a while. Unfortunately, most of what Sam said faded from her memory. She called it a soft forgetting, and equated it to waking from a dream. He told her that the Berlin Wall would fall, but she didn't believe him. She thought he was speaking some sort of riddle that she had to figure out. He said, "This is the last time you'll see me until the end." She finally asked him where he was from, and he responded, "I'm from this place, but different." Eventually, it was time to leave. They waved their goodbyes as she left the hut, and when she turned around for one last look, the hut, along with Sam, was gone. Fay hasn't seen Sam since. She still has one more meeting with him at the end, but we're not sure what that's supposed to mean. Now, we do know he told her that the world wouldn't end in her lifetime. A lot of people immediately jump to the end of the world, but he said the end wouldn't happen in her lifetime. So we can kind of assume he doesn't mean the end of the world. Is it possible it could mean something beyond death? If he's an angel and she going up to heaven, and Sam's just there. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Alright, so as we can see, All Colors Sam seems to be this benevolent creature who has formed a relationship with Fay. He enjoys seeing Fay. He enjoys being around her. The way he talks makes it sound like he was only literally allowed to see her the 4 more times. Who's, imposing this allowance? I have no idea. I don't know if it's just his own reason for that or what. Either way, he didn't space them out so that he could see her throughout her lifetime. They were all clustered close together near the beginning, and now he says he'll see her one last time at the very end. Bruh, low-key, it's just like Sam just really likes Fay, is what this seems like. He enjoys being around Fay, and he didn't want to wait that long to space out all the views. It just feels like he just wanted to spend time with her. This story's so sweet. I love Sam. I love All Colors Sam. He's so cool. Now, I found something on a podcast. I think I have it written down somewhere. And you know what? I will put the links to the podcasts that I used for information where they interviewed Paul and this guy. I'll put those in the description if you want to check them out yourselves. This dude claims to have seen All Colors Sam. And when I was first listening to it, at first I was just like, because I'm going into this super skeptical, right? Because I've already done all of this prior research about All Colors Sam. And so I'm like, okay, if this guy says stuff and it doesn't align with what I know, because almost nobody knows about Paul, right? About Paul's account. He's still not very well known in the community, and I'm expecting this dude, if he's hoaxing, to also not know about Paul, and so his story shouldn't line up with what Paul's saying, is what I'm thinking when I'm listening to this interview. And all of it lines up, and I was like, okay, this guy actually knows his stuff. This guy did his research. He listened to Paul, but he still could have fabricated the story, right? If he fabricated the story, he had listened to Paul, and that's why it's fabricated so well. And then I looked at the year. His encounter and him saying all of this on, putting this out there on a podcast happened before Paul came forward with his new information, which means that he could not have used what Paul had said and found from Fay's accounts to fabricate this. He made this story beforehand, and it just so happens to line up with everything Paul says. Because of how this lines up, I actually believe this guy. And so I wanted to add it to the video because it feels so euphoric to add in another perspective of somebody else who encountered one of these creatures that are like Sam. So, Luke's encounter with All Colors Sam. This is an isolated account that aligns with all previous accounts of All Colors Sam. At the time of I'm reading, this is his direct story, okay? So I'm going to read off what he wrote. At the time of the event, I was 4 or 5 years old, and the sun was beginning to descend. So late afternoon at best. So 4 or 5, we know that these creatures come to children for some reason, right? Now we have 2 different accounts of that happening, so that's just interesting. My memory of what happened sticks out because it would shape the things I would draw as I grew older. I was sitting on a large boulder in my grandparents' backyard. It had been dug out some time before me to make way for a large decorative fish pond that, by my time, was rarely used except to entertain me. Sorry, I got hiccups. My grandfather had just gone inside, and I knew enough to not go swimming in the gross water. It was at this moment I heard a noise to my right and turned. To the right of my grandparents' home was the neighbor's massive field. I can't remember what crop they grew, but the tall grass at the time probably means it hadn't been used in a while. Standing in the grass was a figure with a scarecrow pose. Arms out, straight body, his hat was cone-shaped, his face features wooden. He had a jack-o'-lantern face with an empty nose hole, but he still looked alive. But when he talked, his mouth did not move. I could hear him in my head, like telepathy. He gave off major clown vibes, which is why I was comfortable with, and because both his parents did charity events as clowns. In the podcast, he talks about how, Clowns were just really common in his household. He looked at them with comfort because that's what his parents were dressed up as a lot of times, and like 4, 5, 6 years old. So he's looking at this person and it feels like a familial figure to him, like a parental figure. I would say he was roughly 6 to 7 feet tall with wide shoulders. He wore scarecrow clothes with patches of bright colors over pale brown and black. But what he said to me was what your podcast resparked in my memory and left me with the distinct knowledge that not only was I not the only one anymore to have seen him, but that a vivid experience could have been something more sinister. Now, from him saying something more sinister, we'll get into this. If you listen to their podcast and you listen to how he talks about him, Sam scared him. This Sam, who is a different Sam, scared this kid. Which is the only thing that is majorly different from Fay's story and Luke's story. Because Fay's story, Sam scared the other little boy. It was not intentional, but he scared him. But Fay was a lot more solitary. And then as time went on, she had a bond with Sam. She was not scared of him. This little kid, though, is terrified like the original little kid in the first story. He waved a wooden hand, and I heard a voice say, "Hello, Sam, we are all colors." I remember distinctly that he asked it as a question, and I responded with, "My name is Luke, not Sam." I wasn't scared. He wasn't scared yet. I felt calm and relaxed until the end of the encounter. He pointed at himself and did a short bow, then reached out into the field next to him, and he opened a door. A door. The door had not been there before and was not attached to anything. I could see inside the gap of the door, and the room inside was green with wooden chairs. The door aligns with Paul's story, Paul's retelling of what Fay has told him. This was before Paul had released any of that. He motioned for me to come with him. I remember getting off the boulder, walking with him through the door, and being enveloped by bright red and green Christmas lights. They were bright as the sun, and I had to close my eyes to keep from going blind, or so I thought. Then I woke up, laying on my grandparents' couch. It was dark outside, and my parents rushed in when I called out to them. They had found me half an hour before, asleep in the middle of the field, having called for me and not hearing me answer when things got dark. It was last year when I first started hearing about the Sam the Sandown Clown encounter, and I remarked how similar it was to my own encounter. I honestly believe they were either the same or slightly different entities as my own encounter. As it's been months since my encounter appeared on the podcast, I've been able to deal better with the newer information connected to my experience. Sam didn't try any tricks with me, like with the children from the Isle of Man. I think it's the Isle of Wight, I don't know. Sam's voice wasn't vocal, if that makes sense. It was like an echo hitting off something and hearing that inside my head rather than through my ears. Thinking it over, I believe the full sentence was, "Hello, Sam, we are all colors, skip the starlight," which is what he'll say in the podcast, skip the starlight. The inside of the green room has come up again in my mind. I tried remembering other details, and when I sat down and tried to nail down anything else about it, I distinctly recall that there were 2 empty wooden chairs and 2 occupied chairs further back. The door was see-through. I never saw a doorknob. I couldn't make out details about the other people sitting in the chairs, but they had the same outline as well. Sam, the hat, the head shape, long arms, and legs. But details are just void, like when someone's face gets blurred to protect their identity. Super freaking interesting. So, consistency in this story. Luke's story was first told on the Cryptonauts podcast. After being interviewed, Luke decided to write out and post a transcript of his story to Reddit. Later, Luke was interviewed by the Cryptid Cocktail Party podcast, which is the one I listened to that I'll link in the description. Stories that are found online generally hold very little weight, but the story of Luke fits perfectly with accounts given by Fay, and the later accounts that were not released yet. Haters will say that's just well researched on the topic, but that is impossible because Luke's story was released before the information that Paul Wilson came forward with. Luke shared his account in 2024, and Paul Wilson, though he had interviewed Fay just before the COVID pandemic, only began to share his information in 2025. Luke's account has information that could only have been known if he had read through Paul Wilson's transcripts or if he had a genuine encounter with the same entity as Fay. Could Paul Wilson have heard Luke's account and been influenced by it? It is incredibly unlikely, as Paul is a reputable folklorist, so he's not going to just use some... The odds of him coming across Luke's very obscure account on Reddit or listening to these podcasts, these obscure podcasts, like, where Luke's talking, and then taking note of it and deciding to use it is really slim. Like, that's really weird. The only reason Luke was put into this collection of information is because his story aligns so well with Fay's. I am so interested. I think it's so cool that it all lines up. You know what I'm saying? So, I had to throw it in here, because getting another perspective on this creature is insane. Is just crazy to me, to actually have another person who has seen this thing. And this one, he was scared of him. And I think in the Cryptid Cocktail podcast, Cryptid Cocktail Party podcast, it sounds like they talk like this Sam is new at this, right? Like, they have a job and they're talking to these kids for a reason, and this Sam is new at it because he freaks Luke out. He freaks him out. And the original Sam didn't freak Fay out. But then again, he freaked the other kid out, so I don't know. It's just really interesting. So, what is Sam? What the heck is Sam? I don't know, man. I don't know. Is he an alien? Maybe. I don't necessarily I don't believe in aliens. I'll just I say that and everyone's like, what? All the time, and I always clarify this every time I say I don't believe in aliens, in the way that they are from the stars, and they are just other creatures that are high-tech enough to come to Earth. I don't believe in aliens of that type, because I'm Christian. I believe angels, demons, spirits, right? I think those are the three things. And so the aliens we know of, well, also like multidimensional, because spirits are multidimensional, right? Angels, demons, and spirits are all multi-transdimensional, and they can, as far as I'm aware, go over time because they're outside of this dimension, which is influenced by time. So all three of them don't have to be bound by time or space. And so that's what I believe in. And so the aliens we usually think of, I think, are just spirits. Either demons, angels, or spirit, like neutral spirits. And so I'm really leaning into the idea that this dude was a fae, like a fairy of old folklore. He's I don't know why. It just gives me that vibe. I don't think it's some high-tech robot. I don't think it's an alien of that aspect. I think Sam is a fairy, a neutral or good spirit. But the only reason that I end up leaning towards the neutral spirit is because I feel like a lot of times angels, they have like a pretty strict reason to be doing the things that they do, and the neutral spirits don't, right? Neutral spirits can lean towards bad or good. I think which that's a whole other video to get into, because that's nowhere in the Bible, right? That's nowhere in the Bible. I have created this idea of neutral spirits through a bunch of research and other things. The Bible doesn't explicitly say they exist, okay? I need to clarify that. But like the neutral experience or spirits, as far as I have figured out from researching, can lean either way, and they can like some people and dislikes other people, and they usually are like guardians of specific locations, and if you like trash up that location, they hate you now, and if you go there, they will just do something bad to you. Or if you go and take care of that location, they like you now, and if you go there, maybe you'll find $100 bill on the ground, like just stuff like that, right? And that's like neutral spirit. And the way that Sam acts seems like it's a positive thing, right? But he only had a really good reason, as far as we can tell, the one time where Fay was about to go to jail. That would be an angelic type of like, hey, I'm here to tell you, don't do that, you will go to jail, that's not part of the plan that big man up top wants to happen, don't go. That's an angel type of thing. But all the other cases of where she sees him isn't very like angelic. That's more of just like, he likes her and he's doing these things because he likes her. And that's kind of neutral spirit to me. That sounds like neutral spirit to me. And then when we get into Luke's account, like angels scare people, right? Because they're freaky, right? And people, they don't do it intentionally. They're just so beyond what we can comprehend that it scares people. But this one, they also usually are good at comforting people, because despite the fact that they look like giant spinning wheels with eyes all over them, they still say do not be afraid, and people chill out. But Luke was chill at first, and then he got scared, and so that also makes it feel more like neutral spirit than angel to me. No way it's a demon, because like I really don't think this was a demon, and I know a lot of people think that just like everything is a demon. A lot of Christians think that way, of like, oh, it was a spiritual force, it was a weird unexplainable thing, that was a demon. No, I don't think it was a demon. It wouldn't really make sense. So I personally think he's a fairy or neutral spirit or whatever other word you want to use for this type of thing that we find in like old Slavic and Celtic folklore, or like even old American folklore, like that type of stuff. That's what I personally think. A lot of people think he's alien, and I completely understand why, because he does have tech. And I think that the neutral spirits can have tech too. I need to make a video about them. It's so interesting. I just don't believe in aliens. I believe aliens are spirits. So alien also makes sense because he has all this tech. He seems like he's a multi-dimensional alien, and he can transcend time and dimension, right? Totally makes sense. So because I think those are the same thing, yes to both. I really like this story. And I think that's everything. I think I've just covered everything that I have to talk about him. So I guess that's the end of the video. Well, I really like the story of All Color Sam, and I hope you did too. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit like. If you want to see more content like this, please hit subscribe. Again, if we reach 500 subscribers, when we reach that mark, I'm going to hunt a creature that I saw in a sewer system one time. This big black furry thing that was covering the whole thing with giant hands that was crawling along the wall toward me. Terrifying experience. I'm gonna hunt that thing at 500 subscribers. Roanoke Tales is gonna go hunt the Dogman at like 1 million. Yeah, Ratman is cool. I only need 500 to go hunt something that I have had an encounter with before. That's no beef with Roanoke Tales. I love that dude, but you know what I'm saying. Rack me up there. Discord, you should join it. I would really appreciate if you stuck to the end of this video. If you were interested enough to stick at this all the way out, it'd be super cool if you would join the Discord server. I think you'd get along with us pretty well. Also, I do make merch, and I only make $1 when you buy a shirt because I've tried to rack it down to be as cheap as possible. I think it's like 20 bucks for a shirt, and then I get $1 from it. I drew the art myself. I think I only have 2 actual shirts so far, and then I've got stickers, which I need to make another shirt because I want to make the Inuit collection. Speaking of which, I've got an Inuit video. If you're interested in Inuit folklore, it's super cool. Thank you again so much for watching. Now to all of the people who are the die-hard fans like Zachary, I know you're here, bro. You're just the one that came to my mind first, but all y'all guys in the Discord, look. Look at this setup right now. I had you on my Capri Sun box. I needed to make this, and I've been telling you guys I'm gonna make a video for so long, I had to do it. So I just sucked it up and said, I'm doing it right now, and I did. And I'm so hyped because I really have been wanting to get back into this so bad. But like, everything's been going crazy in my life. With college, I started a mobile mechanic business that I'm working on because I was broke all the time and I needed some money. I went through like a really difficult breakup, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot, but I've been really trying to get back into it, and now I've made a big step by making this video, and so I'm really hoping to get back into the role of it and get back onto doing these things because I love doing this so much. I would love to be a folklorist, and I would love to be a real YouTuber, make money on this and travel places and go get information about the cryptids and then give it back to you guys. That is the dream, dude. I'll get a big old van. I really want to do that. I would love that. So thank you guys for sticking with me and being patient and still being here, because I know it gets like pretty difficult when a YouTuber is just like, oh, bye, and just disappears for 6 months. But you guys have still stuck around despite me not doing that, and I really appreciate you guys. I really do. So thank you so much. Anyways, now I'm gonna end the video properly. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone who stuck to the end of the video and anyone who watched just any part of the video. I hope you found it interesting and you've got some new information about cryptids and how the world could work. And with all that being said, God bless. Ratman out.